All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Robbie Basel Show. On today's episode, we have a lot to talk about. Today is November 3rd. It's crazy that it's November already, and I started this show back in May. I believe today's episode number 48. Today's topics are going to include the World Series, NFL weekend preview, as always, Premier League weekend preview, as always, F1. We got a lot to talk about. So let's just jump right into it. We'll start recapping the World Series because that's what ended on Wednesday. And I did recap it yesterday a little bit on Into the Stands, which the latest video will be in the description of this video. We did have a guest for the first time since April. So a little bit of a change of scenery there. Let's go over this World Series, though, which is what we're here to do. So the World Series, the Rangers won in 5 games. I did not predict that right on Into the Stands, which it's expected at this point. But the Rangers won Game 1 by a score of 6-5, a late home run off of Mets legend Paul Sewald by Corey Seager. Tied the game for the Rangers. Rangers won it late. Game 2, the Diamondbacks responded well, winning 9-1. And then the Rangers picked up some injuries. The main one being Adolis Garcia got injured and missed the back end of the series, and it didn't matter. As Game 3, they won 3-1. Game 4, they won 11-7, including being up at one point by 9 runs by a score of 10-1. And then the Rangers shut out the Diamondbacks in Game 5 after Zach Gallen, I think, had a no-hitter through like 6 or 7 innings, which shout out to Zach Gallen. He gave it all, and unfortunately the Diamondbacks bats, even though they're in the desert, went ice cold. So you would think that for a team in the desert, the bats would stay high. I mean, it's like 100 degrees there in Phoenix, Arizona, but unfortunately, the Rangers bats, they're a little more south. They got a little bit more hotter. But more hot. That's what should be proper grammar there, ladies and gentlemen. So, what are my reactions to this? My reaction was, it was kind of what some people were expecting. I didn't know if the Diamondbacks are ready to take this step, and it clearly shows they weren't. Because the inefficiency on the offensive side of the plate was terrible. If you combine games 3, I mean, how many runs did they score? 6? Scored 13 runs in 5 games, I think is what the number was. Because if you add, well, actually, that's not right math. 14, exclude game number 2, they scored 13 runs in 4 games. In those games by the Rangers, how many runs did they score? 16, 19. They scored 25. You guys got outscored by all but one game by 12 runs. You can't do that against a team like the Texas Rangers. They had a lot of good pitching pieces step up when they needed to. You could talk about, let's go back to Game 1, because why not talk about this game? Rangers had a solid pitching performance, or you were thinking it would have been a solid pitching performance from Nathan Eovaldi, but he allowed all five of their runs. The bullpen saved them from guys like Dane Dunning, John Gray. You wouldn't think John Gray out of the bullpen, but here we are. And then the Rangers won 6-5. The bullpen kept them in it. And then the pitching, I think, really started to emerge in this game with Max Scherzer looking good and John Gray looking good again. John Gray, I think, could have been a story for this series. But the Rangers get that much-needed performance in the back end of a series out of an experienced starter. And that's what I think was the main difference. The Diamondbacks starting pitching wasn't experienced enough to really be at this level. And I think next year in free agency, they're going to need an experienced starter. I'm going to pull up a free agency list, but because that's what they were really lacking, because they had a lot of inexperienced starting pitchers and Zach Gallen. I mean, Brandon Pfaadt and whoever else they had in the rotation didn't really help them. And listen, I wish they can go out and get like an Ohtani, but the Diamondbacks wouldn't do that. Right? The Diamondbacks wouldn't go out and sign Shohei Ohtani. Probably not. It is an intriguing option, though. By the way, if you hear any construction noises or anything like that, I can't do anything about that. My window actually back there doesn't close. So it's like a screen. Instead of like a window. The windows are shut, but it's just a screen. It's not like a solid window. So you may hear background noise today because they are doing some work on North Avenue right in front of the other dorms. So apologies if you hear any background noise, but I mean, look at the starting pitching they can sign. There's a lot of good options here. But one that I think can really intrigue people would be Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray, who's been in this position before, has pitched in the playoffs multiple times. He just pitched in the playoffs for the Minnesota Twins. I mean, he's had a very roller coaster career. That's very true. But with the Twins, he was very solid. And I think getting a 1-year deal out of Sonny Gray could be a big key for the Diamondbacks. I would like him. I would like Jordan Montgomery. Imagine they get both of them. Listen, Jordan Montgomery and Sonny Gray on the Diamondbacks, I think that would put them back in the conversation because you get two solid starters. So starters, I think, are ranked in top 10 of the starting pitching market for free agency this year. Going to the Diamondbacks? That'd be insane. Like, that would be really good. I'm looking at the right year, right? Yep. I mean, imagine they go out and get like an Aaron Nola. I don't think they would. A lot of people saying potential fits. Everyone's saying like the Angels and all that, but I think the D-backs are going to be a big. I want them to be big players in free agency, but I think they may need to get a bat as well, like a DH, a reliable designated hitter. And why not go out and try and get a guy like a Jorge Soler, who opted out of his contract yesterday from the Marlins? I feel like he could be lethal as well. Lots to look out for the Diamondbacks, but going back to the Rangers, they did all of this. Just take this into account without DeGrom since May. Imagine this team next year with DeGrom. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. They have a much easier path back here because you can basically eliminate the AL Central because it's going to be the Twins again. You would think it would be the Twins again. So then the AL East, you have no idea. Same with the West a little bit here because you don't know if the Angels are going to bring back Ohtani. You don't know if the Yankees are going to be in the play for Yamamoto, who I think is going to sign with the Yankees. I hate it, but I think that's probably going to happen. The Red Sox are pieces away still. I don't think they'll be in division contention. The Rays are going to be injured to heck and back. It's a much more easy to judge situation, kind of like the play on words there. Because the Rangers, the AL East is heavily going to be starting with injuries, especially with the rotation of the Tampa Bay Rays, missing guys like Shane McClanahan for the entire season, which, by the way, hate to see it. I love Shane McClanahan. I hate to see something like that happen, but at the end of the day, the Rangers are in a very good position. Shout out to Chris Young, their GM, who right when he came in, his first two moves were Simeon and Corey Seager, and they both have panned out very well for them. Shout out to the Rangers for winning the World Series. They deserved it. And the next deserving topic we'll go into is the Premier League, because there's a lot of interesting storylines this week. Also during the week, we had the EFL Cup. No one cares about it. It's basically like the back of the reserves tournament, I call it at this point. Arsenal did lose. I'll dive in. I'll just give some results. For context, yeah. You look at the EFL Cup. Wait, the teams remaining are Everton is playing Fulham in the quarterfinals. Chelsea, Newcastle, I think it's going to be pretty fun. Liverpool, West Ham, and Port Vale and Middlesbrough. By the way, great draw for Middlesbrough. They are on the... I think they would play... I want them to play Everton next because that would be the greatest draw ever. We would see a championship team in the final. Probably. It's basically the calm before the FA Cup begins, which, by the way, shout out to the FA Cup. I think that starts soon. The first round actually starts, I think, today. Yeah, the FA Cup first round begins today. We got some incredible matchups. If there's a match that you want to go on, trying to find some back end site and try to find a match to watch out for, Morecambe. Shout out to Morecambe for no reason at all. Some teams to watch out for in the first round of an FA Cup. If you don't know any of these teams and you want me to talk to you about a couple of them, Wrexham. We got the American owners of Wrexham. I feel like they have a great draw. They're playing Mansfield Town. I feel like that's a good draw. Blackpool, I feel like could be a decent team in the first round as well. Stockport County are a decent team. Reading, MK Dons is going to be a weird one because just be no fans probably. Marine, for those who don't know about the Marine story, they're back. I didn't even know they were back. They were the ones who a couple of years ago played Tottenham at home in the most lopsided FA Cup draw of all time. 8th tier Marine against top flight Tottenham. When Mourinho, for reference, this was the time when Mourinho was there, so like years ago now. They're back. I'm interested to see how they go out. Bristol Rovers, Wickham Wanderers. You have Cheltenham. Just to name a couple of other teams. I mean, there's a good amount of teams in Doncaster. Boreham Wood, who made a deep run in a couple of the last FA Cups. So FA Cup, very fun to watch out for. I would recommend, if you have like some of the things you can watch it on, I would recommend watching a little bit of that. But we're talking about the Premier League here. So what are some matchups to watch out for this weekend, from my perspective? We'll talk about Arsenal-Newcastle later, because I can't wait for that game, by the way. Let's begin. We start off with a match that I think is going to be much more appeasing to the eye than it seems. First of all, United and Fulham is going to bore people to death. That screams that United win 1-0. They're under a lot of pressure. Ten Hag, they're chanting for Ten Hag to be sacked during their EFL Cup match on Wednesday, which hats off to Newcastle because they joined the chant. I kind of like that. It was just a vibe. I did get to watch the back end of that match when I was back in my dorm. So it was kind of funny, actually, how that all went down. So I do think United win this game, though. I think Fulham really struggled to score goals. United, this is their chance. They did pick up an injury with Casemiro, but can you see a player like a Mason Mount come out of his shell and start to play better football for Manchester United? There's not a lot of intriguing matchups other than Arsenal-Newcastle. I think Brentford-West Ham is a crucial matchup for both teams. That's going to be a fun one to watch out for. City-Bournemouth, I feel like could be a trap game for City, but you saw Bournemouth play well on the road against Liverpool in the first half, but they crumbled in the second. So I think that's going to be a very similar result. I do see City winning that match. Just look at the Sunday matches. There's not like many crazy matchups. But of course, I couldn't go to the show without talking about Arsenal-Newcastle. You can watch this game on NBC tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. from St. James's Park. Should be an interesting matchup. What are my expectations for this game? First of all, I expect a draw. This game screams a 2-2 draw. So if you look at the projected lineups, Arsenal, the big thing here, though, is the injuries. Because the one that really screams to me, they might have Tonali, of course, suspended, but Botman injured. You have Alexander Isak, who I don't think is going to play. Harvey Barnes, Murphy. For Arsenal, Gabby Jesus, who got injured again. Of course, we don't have Jurriën Timber, but Gabby Jesus being injured again really sucks. But if you look at the projected lineups, we're previewing this off of projected lineups. Starting Tomiyasu makes sense. Resting Zinchenko after his crazy week of play. Eddie Nketiah is in great form. I'm glad that he's starting. Midfield, though, interests me because Kai Havertz actually didn't look that terrible on Wednesday. He did get subbed off, but I'm intrigued to see if they start him over Jorginho. I don't think they do. I actually think moving Rice to the middle and moving Havertz to the left, I think, would be very interesting, though. For Newcastle now. Their lineup, I'll just name the full line. So go back to Arsenal's real quick. Sorry. They are projecting Raya and net, which I hate. Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Saliba, and White. But I just have to mention this. People are mad at Ramsdale for allowing 3 goals. The dude hasn't played a match in like a month, it feels like. What else were you expecting? Okay, I'm getting my frustrations out of the way for that. So you Tomiyasu, Gabriel, Saliba, and White in the back, with Rice, Jorginho, and Odegaard, and Martinelli, Nketiah, and Saka up front in the 4-3-3. For Newcastle United, it's Pope in net with Kieran Trippier, Lascelles, Shaw, and Byrne, with Longstaff, Bruno Guimaraes, and Joelinton in midfield, with Miguel Almiron, Callum Wilson, and Anthony Gordon up front. Both teams rocking, of course, the 4-3-3. So there's a lot of interesting players to watch out for in this game as well. You have Bruno Guimaraes, who I think is going to torch Arsenal. Same with Miguel Almiron, because he's on the same side as Tomiyasu, who I think is going to get destroyed by Miguel Almiron. But I think the no Alexander Isak is going to be very crucial for Arsenal. I think that could be the reason they possibly win this game. But playing in Newcastle, I think it's going to be a big struggle, and I'm really expecting Newcastle to come out firing hot. Listen, I'm thinking a big game from Callum Wilson. I'm thinking another big game from Nketiah. I think the number 9s are going to have a field day in this one, especially with the injuries to both teams. I mean, I think Callum Wilson, with his talent from outside the box, I think could be good. Anthony Gordon has been great, but I feel like he could be good as well. It's going to really be the focus of which attack can be more efficient in the final third, and I think that's going to be the reason that one of these teams wins this match. Who do I expect to win? Neither. Like I said in the beginning, this game screams a draw to me. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw at St. James's Park. Fun one to watch out for, though. I'm very intrigued about this match. On Sunday, we have Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. I feel like that's a trap game for Villa. Listen, they have one of the best signings of the season in Pau Torres, but Nottingham Forest, I don't know. I'm thinking. I mean, right now, if you look at FootMob, they're projecting a Aston Villa win, but man, it's gonna be a fun one. You can watch that one of course, in the USA Network. But if you look at the injuries, the big one is of course Hudson-Odoi and Origi, but Emi Buendia, even Moreno out for and Denny and Mings, not Denny, Mings out for Aston Villa. If you look at the projected, they actually don't have the projected lineups out yet, but the last time these two faced was in April, and we had Aston Villa 2, Nottingham Forest 0. But the reason I say this could be a trap game because the last time this game was at Nottingham Forest was October of last year, and we saw Nottingham Forest 1, Aston Villa 1. So I feel like this can be a trap game for Villa. I'm expecting Villa to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it draw. And then we have the real main event for me, and that's on Monday with Spurs-Chelsea on Monday. I cannot wait for this game because I think Chelsea are going to have a good game out here today. Of course, they have Michael Oliver reffing, so you'd already know there's going to be some controversy, but a lot of injuries, of course, to both teams as well. I'm interested to see when we can, this is for Chelsea's note, I'm interested to see when we can see the return of Christopher Nkunku because I love Christopher Nkunku. I want to see how he looks coming from, I think he's coming from RB Leipzig. I'm interested to see how he comes out and plays for this Chelsea squad. I feel like he could be very good for this team. He's that one piece that they could be really missing, but they have so many injuries. Chalobah, Romeo Lavia, Wesley Fofana, who's out for a while. You have Mykhailo Mudryk, who's probably out for this game. Chukwuemeka, Ben Chilwell. I mean, and of course for Tottenham, they don't have Udogie, who has actually been pretty good. Ivan Perisic is out for a while. Sessegnon. So, listen, this match is going to be interesting. I'm thinking Spurs win this, but don't be surprised if Chelsea come out firing on all cylinders and have a good game on the attack. I feel like this could be a very big trap game for Tottenham, if you could even call this a trap game. But the battle of what I would like to call still the Big Six in the Premier League should be a fun one on Monday. I can't wait to watch that one. The Premier League is fun and all, but here's the other type of football to watch out for as well, and that's where we're going to head next in the NFL. And what games to watch out for this week? Let's go over a little bit of a preview. So, of course, last night, we had the Steelers beat the Titans, which drives me crazy because I got another Thursday night pick wrong on Into the Stands. Games to watch out for. Of course, we can't not go this without mentioning the 9:30 a.m. game in Germany on Sunday between the Dolphins and the Chiefs. I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. Hate to see that it's at 9:30, but listen, I feel like that game's going to be so much fun to watch out for. Tua versus Mahomes. Mike McDaniel against Andy Reid, the coaching matchup that I've been waiting for a little bit. I think a lot of fans in the NFL have this game circled on your calendars for a long time. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, I bet a lot of people expected the Dolphins to be here and the Chiefs to be here, but I'm really interested to see how the Dolphins look on defense because the Chiefs, coming off of their loss against the Broncos, how are they going to look? Like, are they going to, like, try and come out firing on all cylinders again? Or is it going to be the Dolphins just running all over them? It's a weird storyline. The storyline I don't think many people expected when this matchup was coming out in the first place. I mean, Jalen Ramsey also a player to watch out for me on the defensive side. It's a very intriguing matchup. I can't wait to watch how that one unfolds. We had the battle of the backups between the Vikings and the Falcons. Jaron Hall is going to start for the Vikings this week against the Falcons, who are starting Taylor Heineke. We have the Bears and the Saints. I feel like that could be an interesting one. Tyson Bagent going up against Derek Carr. I feel like this could be a trap game for Derek Carr, but I think he's going to come out firing as well. Rams-Packers is going to be a fun one. We had Jordan Love against Matt Stafford. I think this game in Lambeau could be a problem for the Rams, but I do expect the Rams to come out and win this game. I'm expecting big days from Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp and Tutu Atwell. That receiving core, I think, is going to have a field day against the Packers. Commanders-Patriots, not really high on that one. Seahawks-Ravens, though, is my game of the 1 o'clock session. Most likely, yep, it is. You have a struggling Geno Smith against Lamar Jackson. And I feel like when you look at these two head-to-head, I want to pick Seattle, but the Ravens at 6-2 have been hot. They've won 3 in a row and 4 of their last 5. At home this season, they have lost, I think, once. They've lost once at home this season, and you can argue it was a ref ball game against the Colts. So, listen, I'm expecting a lot of big things from the Ravens. It's a 3-game homestand for them against the Seahawks, the Browns, and the Bengals. Can you start that home stretch well by continuing your winning streak and looking good against another NFC West opponent? Because maybe they look bad against the Cardinals, but they still went out and beat the Cardinals and put up 31 points. I mean, granted, they wouldn't have to deal with Josh Dobbs anymore. But it's a statement game, I think, for the Ravens. I am picking the Ravens to win this one. It's going to be a fun game, though. I have high expectations, though, for the Ravens going up in this game against the Seattle Seahawks. We have the Bucs and the Texans. I'm expecting big things, a bounce back for C.J. Stroud, who did not look good last week against the Panthers. And, of course, we have the Browns and the Cardinals. I'm expecting a snooze fest from this one. And then we head into the 4 o'clock session, and we have our headline by Cowboys-Eagles. We have what was supposed to be the battle of the first-round QBs between Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young, but unfortunately AR-15's out for the season. So we're going to see Gardner Minshew against Bryce Young. We have the Giants and the Raiders, which is going to be, oh, God. I don't even know who the Giants were starting at quarterback. Like, is it going to be Daniel Jones? Is it going to be the Tommy DeVito? I have no idea, but they're facing Aiden O'Connell. I'm picking the Raiders. Aiden O'Connell. I'm very high on Aiden O'Connell. This is not against me not liking the Giants, because I do slightly like the Giants. I feel like just Aiden O'Connell is talented enough to go out and pick through the Giants defense. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm going to say it's very similar to the Jets game from last week. Give me a 17-13 win for the Las Vegas Raiders, who just fired Josh McDaniels last week. This is going to be very similar to the Colts when they had that first-time head coach last year. Give me the Raiders to beat the Giants 17-13. Colts-Panthers, I'm going to say the Colts struggle, and I'm going to say the Panthers go out and win back-to-back games at home. Because that will really intrigue their narrative, because I don't think they have a first-round pick this year. Of course, you're headlined by Cowboys. Eagles, it's going to be a back-and-forth matchup. I'm expecting a lot. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen, the Cowboys have been good in this matchup over the last couple of seasons. But the Eagles at home, I just can't pick against the team at home in this matchup. I'm always in a matchup like this when it's just 50-50. Got to pick the home team in a matchup like this. I'm going to go with the Eagles, very slightly over the Dallas Cowboys. And we're headlined by Bills-Bengals on Sunday Night Football. And listen, Bills-Bengals, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I feel like this is, last year when Joe Burrow struggled in the beginning of the year, and you just want this development arc, just rising slowly in the middle of the season, and peaking towards the back end of the year. We're seeing this again, and this is the Joe Burrow statement game. Give me the Bengals by 14 points. Listen, the Bengals defense, not very good. The Bills, inconsistent. When you put two inconsistencies together, what do you get? More inconsistency. So give me the Bengals, because that's the only consistent part about this matchup. It's going to be the Bengals offense. Give me the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the Jets and the Chargers. Listen, the Jets at home have been, I think they've been pretty good at home this year. Jets 4-3, winning 3 in a row. So at home this season, the Jets are actually way worse than I thought. I think when in games played at MetLife Stadium, they actually have an above 500 record in games played at MetLife this year. Give me the Jets slightly over the Chargers. I feel like this is going to be a back and forth. Can Zach Wilson move the ball this week? That's the main question, because last week he looked really bad up until the final drive of the game. Can Zach Wilson, can the offensive line hold up Joey Bosa? That's going to be what I'm watching out for. I feel like it's going to be very similar to Jets Steelers from last year when TJ Watt just went out and actually, no, TJ Watt didn't play that game. So what was the game? Hold on. There was one game last year where they, like an edge rusher, just torched the Jets. We've seen that a lot, but in a game like, I feel like the Bengals with Trey Hendrickson, you can see a possible game like that with that type of narrative. I mean, listen, last year, after the statement win, the Jets won, and then they immediately lost right after that against the New England Patriots, and that game was at home too. I feel like you can connect that's the game that ruined it all. If the Jets win this game, this is going to be a completely different end from last season, because after the ugly win from last season, after winning a crucial matchup, the Jets lost and then won right in their next matchup and lost again. So it's going to be a back and forth season for the rest of the way for the Jets. Back and forth from wins and losses and a mixture of it all. But give me the Jets to win this one. I'm going to say by a score of 27-24. Big day, of course, from my man, Breece Hall. NFL is going to be enjoyable, but F1 is going to be even more enjoyable because is our concluding topic today. Head to the racetrack for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. We actually have qualifying. It's actually today, so qualifying is actually going to happen right before the upload of this video, which sucks for me. But the race weekend, we have the FP1 happened already. If you take a look at FP1, I'm just going to list off who's been good. In FP1, it's headlined by Carlos Sainz, which is not what I was expecting at all. It was Sainz, Leclerc, Russell, Nico Hülkenberg up there in P4. The interesting one is Piastri and Norris, 19th and 20th. Perez, 18th. Max Verstappen, 16th. I don't think he really pushed in this session. But a driver to watch out for, I think everyone's going to say this, is LH. Lewis Hamilton is going to be the driver to watch out for this week. It's his home track. It feels like his second home track for him. Kind of like how Sebastian Vettel's a couple of years ago, what his was Japan. This is Lewis's second home, and that is Sao Paulo. I'm expecting a podium out of him minimum. Listen, I feel like it's going to be a nice day for him. I'm expecting big things from McLaren as well. If you wanted me to predict an order for the race, and I'm not going to predict a qualifying order. So race order, I'm going to go with a very similar one to last week. I'm going to say Max wins. It's going to be a close one. I think this is going to be a fun race. I'm dead serious. I think this is going to be a fun race. Just give me Max, then Lewis, followed by, let's go with Carlos Sainz, and then the two McLarens, and then we'll go with George Russell. That's my main order for this race in Sao Paulo. It's one of the best tracks, one of the loudest tracks of the year as well. If you want to watch the race, I'll find out what time it is for you guys right now. The race at our time, because that's how it's supposed to be, I believe is going to be at noon Eastern on Sunday. Make sure to watch it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right before football, if the Germany game gets boring, you can always go to F1. It's going to be a fun one. I cannot wait to see how that race unfolds. I'm going to be switching between both that and the NFL game for sure. Can't wait to see how it all unfolds. And on that note, that'll be all for this little bit of a shortened episode today of the Robbie Basel Show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like what you see, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And on that note, I'm Robbie Basel saying so long. I'll see you guys on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.